Welcome to another exercise for this workbook statistics. This time focusing on how to calculate statistics for classified data. As we can see from our exercise text, well, first off we have the general information that future students have to do a test with a maximum of 100 points, and the last 143 students achieved the following results. So we have here classified after the different grades the students achieved and the absolute quantities. Our tasks now determine the respective relative and relative cumulated frequencies. So we have to expand this table, then determine the average points, meaning we have to calculate the arithmetic mean, and by how much does the median points deviate from the average point. So in other words, we also have to calculate the median and compare it to the average from part B. So this is more or less focusing on measures of central tendency for classified data. So we're going to start with part A with the relative and relative cumulated frequencies. So we're going to take our original table and add down here the sum of all observations. So we're simply going to add up all absolute frequencies. Now we're going to divide each of the absolute frequencies by the 143, giving us in the next column the relative frequencies. So 7 by 143, 23 by 143, and so forth. To know whether we did this part correctly, we can simply add up all of these numbers, and we have to get to roughly 1, because all of them together should be 100%. Or in other words, 100% of all observations should be covered with the 5 existing classes. To then get the relative cumulated frequencies, we're simply going to add up all these relative frequencies up to the respective point we're at in. So here we're in the first position, so we're going to add up everything until the first position. So here we have only this one. Then we're going to add up the first 2, giving us this one. Then the first 3, that's this one. However, after some point, this might become relatively tedious because you have to type in a lot of numbers. So to make this a bit easier, you can also go and simply take the value above this and the value to the right and add those 2 up. So I could add those 2, giving me this result. Add those 2, giving me that result. Again, similar to what I did here with the relative frequencies, to check whether I did this correctly, this column needs to finish at this point with a 1.0. Well, it might be that the last digit could be 1 or 2 off, but it should be rounded 1.0, because again, I'm simply adding up these relative frequencies, and since I said they should make up 1. Well, that was already part 1, so we could continue with part B with the arithmetic mean. So we're going to take the full table as before. However, we're not going to need everything of this for calculating the arithmetic mean. We only need these 2 columns. Because for the mean, we're always going to multiply the relative frequency with the mean of the group. So we're going to consider the value in the middle of the group as well. So you could perhaps expand this table by another column, add the means of the groups, or you can simply calculate this with 39 minus 0 divided by 2, 55 minus 40 divided by 2. That's exactly this formula here, meaning we take the relative frequencies, that's the Ri, we're going to multiply this with the mean of this group, the value between minimum and maximum, and we're going to add all of these numbers up. That's what we did here. So the value in between 0 and 39 is 19.5 times the relative frequency. The value between 40 and 55 is 47.5 times the relative frequency of 0.1608, and so forth. We're going to do this for all groups. And then finally adding it up, giving us an end result of 65.3271, which is our arithmetic mean for this data set. Well, this already concludes part B, so we only have to do part D, C, where we have to get the median for this table. So same table. For the median, we first need to determine the median class. The median class we're going to find by taking a look at the cumulated frequencies. We're starting at the top and looking for the first class where the cumulated frequency is larger than 50%. So here we had 4.9% below, 21% roughly below, 68.53% above 50%. So this is the first class where we are above 50% with the accumulated frequencies. And that's our median class. So the median is somewhere between 56 and 70. How do we get this median? Well, we could use this formula, which simply means lower bound of the class. So 56 plus 0.5. And those 0.5, they're always there. This simply means we're going to calculate the median. So it's 0.5 minus, this is the cumulated frequency of the class before. So the class before is that one up here. The cumulated frequency is 0.2098. So that's this value here. And we're going to divide this by the relative frequency of the median class. So by the 0.4755. So we're going to need this one to determine the median class, those two for this fraction, and then we're going to calculate the width of our median class. So we're going to get upper bound minus lower bound. That's this part here. So 70 minus 56. So I'm going to put in all the values I just described, giving me this result. Then I'm going to put this in my calculator, yielding me a final result of 64.5443. Then I can compare this with the mean from the slide before and see which of those two is larger or smaller. So in other words, is there a right skewed, leftward skewed data set, which we have here. Well, that's more or less everything there is to this exercise. So I hope you enjoyed it. I say goodbye and see you next time.